That's looking good. Just soften that over there a bit. Soften over, nice and soft. That's great. Okay. Right, let's get his other eyebrow in, because the whole thing is going to look better if we get his eyebrows in. Just that shading going across here. Very slight. Just darken it off a bit. This bit here needs to be a bit darker. That's it. And we're using that shading as a guide that we've just done. So, I reckon probably about here. Just about there. But to put it in very lightly, it's the wrong angle. It needs to be across more like that. And seeing where it comes in relation to this, it needs to be a little bit higher, just a touch. So we'll do it a little bit higher. We'll leave them both and just see how we get on with that. And then it's kind of just go along. You might be able to see some of your lines. I can't really see much of mine at all. So yeah, it's going across. So yeah, just do some eyebrows. Just get them in. It's quite straight across here. I can just, like I did on the other eyebrow, I can just sort of give a feel of how low it should be. And it really does need to be pretty low on his face. Then I can see that they kind of straightens out a bit across here. So it's going from the corner of his, in the centre of this bit here, and it's kind of going straight across up here. And that straight line ends right almost at the end of his eye. So it's kind of come in, that little corner comes down. Isn't that right? And then it kind of comes down a bit, down here a bit. Now I'm looking at this kind of area here. How low is it going to go? What direction it's going in? It's kind of coming out here, and then up here. This is quite straight. Got a straight line there. In between, yeah, coming from here. There. And then we've got these lines straight. Okay, that's it. And don't want this too thick. It's got to be quite narrow. So just keep the strong lines narrow and in, and then there's a slight shading around it. We've got to be careful not to get them too thick. That little patch there, looking where does it come on his eye? It's kind of coming on that side of it, his iris. That patch there. Then you've got a bit of shading here, up here. And yeah, we've got the straight line, straight cross, up there. Shadow along here, shading. Shaded there, quite shaded there. Okay, there's a kind of lighter area through here. So I just want to take that off a bit. It is shaded, but it's lighter. This bit here is darker. Okay, so all of his eyebrow. I think that could be a touch thick there, so I'll leave that. That comes down. It's got to come down more. It's shaded here. There, then I'll just brush that through to get the shading on here as well, but it's lighter. And again with the charcoal, just darken this up again. I can see we've got kind of something coming from there, and it does kind of come up in that kind of angle. Quite low. There. And again through here. Bit lower. Bit lower. Bit more shading here. That's it, and a bit more out here. That's it. Take it all off, just soften it up a bit. That's it. Just soften this up here. Soften that. Yeah. And then got a little bit of darkness here. Now, this is where we've got the darker area coming up here. We need to get this shading here a bit more accurate. Be careful about everything. We can use everything to measure then. Get this about the right kind of thickness, and it's going down. Got a lighter patch there, which we won't go into, but we'll just leave that there, across there. Then this is coming down. And across here a bit. This come across there a bit. There. Now, just see a line of light coming up from here. Just very slight. And we'll just soften it off through like that. And then we'll just go over that with the brush, soften it all up a bit. So it's there, but it's merged back again. And yeah, it's got some shading on his nose. It's very, very slight. It's not as strong as this bit here. So we're just going to merge it through. Merge it through. That's it. Straight down. No, it's slightly over. Very slight. Look at the thickness there again of the shading. And there. There. And this is coming round. It's shaded in there. Around about here. And the shading is all coming really up here. Really quite close there. That's dark. That's the end of his eye there. It's a bit thick there now. So I've got a bit of shaping here on his nose now, a bit more shadow area. So I'm just softening off with a brush because I want to try and get some of this shading over onto the tip of his nose because it's not really white. It's lighter down here. Just it's darker there, a lot darker here. I think that's going to be okay. We'll see how it looks. going to have to do something with the bottom of his eye. I can see, coming back to this now, I can see it's too rounded here. Get some colour on here. Just sort of kind of going around with the brush here. You can see sun shading here. That's his nostril. Bit of shading here. You can see that there's a little tip on the end here. Just here. Around there. That's a bit lighter. Just kind of coming through here. There's a lighter area there. Just have to leave that. And this I can see now. This isn't wide enough. I haven't put this on. See, coming back to it, I can see a lot here that I should have put on here. I should have put a bit extra here. Just through here. I'll get the paper stump, I think, and try and put a bit of charcoal on. Just wiping it off on the edge just to make sure it's not too dark. And we'll put a bit more charcoal on here. Just a touch more. Yeah, that's better. Looking at this area here and looking just in comparison to his nose here. It's just kind of going across a bit more of an angle. I had it going straight down. Just across like that. And then our lighter area is quite a little bit of mark there. It's very slight. I don't really want to add more charcoal here because I think it would be too much. I think we could do it with what we've got left here. Just merge that in a bit there, that's it. Then coming across here, and then that's going to be blended through. So just give that suggestion of it being blended through. Definitely a bit darker up here now, I can see. So I can go on the side, add a bit more charcoal there. Just add a little bit more. Just very gently. And this is the bit that's kind of looking a bit circular there, to give his nose a little bit of lightness on the end. That's a bit darker there. That's it. And then here, it's darker. It's kind of coming up a bit more really. Got some more shading coming up here. That's it. And we've got a line there. Then this needs to be darkened down a bit. That's a light bit under his nose, but it needs to be darker. That can all be a bit darker around his lips. It's a bit lighter there, but here definitely darker here. This can come down a bit. Kind of coming over. darken this down a bit here. And through there. So yeah, using paper stump keeps the grain of the paper or card you're using, and the brush seems to brush that all away, and the chamois definitely brushes even more of it away. So you can use, the thing is, if you've got really smooth paper, because I have had considered using smoother paper for drawing portraits, they're probably great for babies and people with no wrinkles and no expression. But if you're going to do real people, you're probably going to want some paper with some kind of grain in it, and you can then use that grain, less or more, depending on what you want to achieve. Darker there. To redo that line there. That needs to come down a bit. That's it's better. And then darker under here. Now, because I want to make this a little bit more narrow, I'm going to do it with a paper stump, and then we'll refine that line a bit more with a pencil. Get that shading under his eye. First of all, I'm going to try and finish off his nose here. So that all needs blending over. It's not really white. If you look at it really carefully, it's got some shading on it. And this part of his nose is shade in shade. So it's got some shading on. That line is actually rounded. Fill that in a bit, make it a bit softer. We'll go around that nose again with a pencil. And this shading is coming round, and it's rounded because that's the shape of his nostril there. So very gently, just imagining I'm doing this with a brush. It's as light as a feather. Right. Now, with my charcoal pencil, I'm going to redo this bit here. So charcoal's got two things going for it really. It's, if you make a mistake, you can get it off easily. It's really dark. On the downside, it tends to rub off really easily. So, you know, again, it's what you want to achieve really. A lot of people find charcoal easier because you can rub it off easier. and you can soften it all very easy, well, like you can with pencil actually. A little line going through here, but I won't put line, I'll just put a bit of darker shading. Okay, now with my rubber I'm going to take off some of that nostril line. It's a bit thick, so I'm just getting it really clean, rubbing it on the end of the paper here. Just get it really nice and clean. Rubbing it so that I can get a little bit more of a point on it, and then we'll take off just a touch. Get that angle right, but it's not so thick. And then this is a little bit dark, so we'll just take off a bit of that. That's it. Okay. Now we've got that line coming through. You can just about see it's coming through over like that. And slightly down. And we'll soften that line now. Just take a bit more of that off there. Just get that line in. That's it, a bit soft. Just soften the whole thing off. Just gonna soften this off here a bit, because I can see that that's probably coming down a bit too far. Just needs to go up there a bit. Then I'm going to use that charcoal to come round his nose.